for number 6, we are comparing pairs of propositional forms. And the way that we're going to compare them is by looking at their truth tables and seeing if the truth tables match. If they match, they are logically equivalent statements, and if they don't, they aren't. So let's begin with A. We just have P, so that is true, false. P and P, so true and true gives us true, and false and false gives us false. So these truth tables are the same, therefore they are equivalent. So we're going to say yes. Now for B, once more we have true, false. Now we have P or P. So true or true is true, false or false is false. So once more, these truth tables match, and they are equivalent. So now let's jump into the other ones. For these, we're going to have to use kind of some auxiliary statements to build up more complicated ones. So let's just plug in the values for this truth table. True, false. And we're going to begin by negating P and Q just because we're going to use the negation as we go along. So we have false, false, true, true, false, true, false, true. Yeah. So we begin with P and Q. So we're just doing a conjunction of the first and the second column. So true and true, true, true and false, false, false and true, false, false and false, false. Now we'll do the conjunction of these two columns, but we'll first apply Q and then do P. So true and true, true, false and true, false, true and false, false, and false, false. So we can see that these truth tables match. So these statements are equivalent, and it is to be expected, right? Because the AND operator, we can take it either side first. So what we're going to do here is say that yes, they are equivalent for C. Now, what about D? So to build D, we do need to fill in this auxiliary column to help us. So let us do that. This is the disjunction of P, so the first column, or the fourth column. So true or false is true, true or true, true, false or false, false, false or true, true. So here we just did the disjunction of the first and fourth columns, and now we can use this result to evaluate D. So for the first column of D, what we're doing is we're taking the disjunction of not P or not Q. So we're doing the third or the fourth column. So false or false, that is false, and then true, true, true. Now for the other column in D, the statements which we are comparing, we're really negating this auxiliary column that we built because it's not P or not Q. So we're going to negate it. So not T is F, not T is F, not F is T, and once more, not T is F. So we can see that these truth tables don't really match. In fact, the only row that matches is the first. So for these two pairs of statements, no, they are not equivalent because truth tables aren't equivalent. So to evaluate E, once more, we're going to have to use this auxiliary statement, which is kind of just intermediary to make it easier. And for this one, we're evaluating the conjunction of P and not Q. So the first and the fourth column. So T and F is just F, T and T is T, F and F is F, and then F and T is F. Now we're ready to build our columns for item E. So the first one we're doing, not P, so the third column, and conjunction not Q. So let's see, F and F is F, F and T is F, T and F, F, and then true and true, true. So now let's evaluate the second column, the second statement, which we're trying to see if it's equivalent. And now this statement, we're just negating this auxiliary column that we made. So this is not P and not Q. So not F is true, not true is false, not false is true, and then not false is true. So once more, we can see that these two columns do not match at all. The only row that matches is the last one. So we can say that E is not equivalent, right? And now let's do F. So for F, let's see. For F, the first column is not P and Q. So not this fifth column over here. So we're just denying it. So because we begin with T, so not T is F, and then not F is T, not F is T, and then once more T. And then we have not P and not Q, which is identical to this column over here, not P and not Q. So we're just going to copy the values. So F, 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 T. And once more, we can see that these do not match. So no, they are not equivalent. And actually, this is, it's good to see these truth tables because it's a very common mistake, right? To think that not P and Q is the same thing as not P and not Q. But thankfully, we have, De Morgan's laws to show us which is the correct way to evaluate such a statement. Now we go into our longer propositions. So let's just fill in this truth table. And once more, we're going to use these auxiliary statements. And we do need here 8 rows so that we can do all the interactions between the propositions. And then lastly, we have true, false, true, false. Okay, so let's build up these auxiliary columns. For this one, we want, let's see, Q or R, disjunction of the second and third column. So for this one, we have true. Because it is a disjunction where whenever we see true, we're just going to input true. And then when there's no true, we just put F. So true, 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 and false. Now we're going to do a conjunction of the first column and the second. So we have true, true, and then true. And then let's see, all the rest have false in at least one. And because it is a conjunction, it means that it will be false. So we can just go ahead and put that in. All right, now we're ready to evaluate G. And I'm not sure why it says D over here. It should say G, right? Okay, so let us then evaluate this. So for the first one, we're evaluating P and Q. So this column over here, or R. So we're taking the disjunction of these two columns. So let's see, we have true, 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 false, true, false, and then let's see, false or true, true, false, 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 true, false, true, and then false. Okay, now let's do the other column, which is now the conjunction of P, so the first column, and the fourth column. We're doing the conjunction of these. So this is true, true, and true. Let's see, true and true. And then we have true and false. So false, false, and true. False, and the rest are false for P. And because it is a conjunction, we can just go ahead and put that in. So we can see that these are not equivalent. Here in this row, they have different values, in this row as well. So these are not equivalent statements. So we're going to go back in G and say that this is no. And lastly, for H, before we can do it, we do need to build this auxiliary statement, which is Q and R. So the conjunction of the second and the third column. That is, let's see, true conjunction, right? So false, whenever we see a false, we just put it in. False, then true. Let me see. False, 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 yeah. Let me just double check it. So true, false, 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 true, false, false, false. Okay, good. And now to finish it off, for the first column in H, what we're doing is we're joining, let's see, P and Q, and there's accidentally an extra bracket here, which should not be there. Let me just remove this. Okay, so we have P and Q. So this, we'll do it with a different color. So we have this column over here, disjunction with R, with this. So it's the third column or the fifth column. So over here we have, let's see, that is true, 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 and then for the fourth row is false. Then let's see, true, false, true and false. Let me just double check the conjunction of R with P and Q. So true, 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 false, true, false, true, false. Okay. Now we are doing the conjunction of P. So the first column, the conjunction with Q and R. So with this column that we just built. So we're doing the conjunction of these two columns. So then we have, let's see, we have true for the first one, then true. I'm just going to put true for the first four because it's the disjunction. Sorry, I think I said conjunction early. I meant disjunction. And then we have Q and R. So now we have true here, and then the last three are false. So once more, these are not equivalent because this line over here and this line over here, they don't match. So we're going to go ahead and say that these are not equivalent. And let me just zoom out so that you guys can see the full picture. If you need to take a screenshot or something. And that's our evaluation.